Season 2 of the Pat and JT podcast.
Oh man, I'm here at last. The best time, always gonna be the best. Come on!
Exclusively on the Hurrdat Media Network.
All right.
It's Pat and JT, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Also, 402-403-9478. We got a text here I think we need to address quickly.
Sure.
It was on an episode we had a couple days ago where you had mentioned the PETA wanted to change the name of the bullpen in baseball to the yard arm. Or no,
Arm barn.
Yard arm?
Yard.
I knew it sounded it was something.
Classic PETA.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So this is from, I don't know who this is from. This is funny. RE bullpen story. So are baseball bats offensive to bats?
They will be.
So what do you call them? Like beat sticks or
Right.
hit sticks?
Hitting sticks. Oh, that's offensive too.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's offensive. Don't just stop.
Yeah.
So, Andy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
First time up here in the new digs, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean, Jill was giving me a tour, and I'm like lost. I was like a mouse in a maze. I'm like, where are we? There's so many hallways and corridors, and
It's true. No, turn left here and go through this door and come out on the other side, and it's like you walk through, come out in a different dimension, right? You're just like,
gosh.
oh, whoa, wait, what?
It took us a while too to get used to that. Like, where's my office?
Where's my stuff?
you got to put a bell on Pat. Where's Pat? Which hallway did he go in?
Like a cat running
I know,
around.
Exactly. Oh my God. And this also is like the first, as we speak, it's the first week that everybody's back in office.
First day is
Right?
Yeah.
So dibs on parking spaces. For the longest time, there was like 8 cars out there, and that was it. The whole building. There's people downstairs. There are other floors, but now it's a premium.
Now people are duking it out over the best spot.
Right. There's one guy on the first floor, and his lights are always on in his office 24 hours a day. I never see him there. His desk is perfect, is immaculate. I don't know. We need to have you see if he's a ghost.
Is it the one straight?
Straight down, like when you walk into the
I
left.
see him every day.
You do?
I do. Mm-hmm.
I've
What does he
also
do?
seen him before. But
Okay.
Yeah.
I've
Also,
seen his
he's always
car.
here. Yeah.
He does. I don't know exactly what he does. I know he does some kind of production, and I'm not sure if like he does commercials or what it is, because I've seen him doing some stuff down there. But he's in his desk. I'll see him in his desk because his office, his door is off to his right side, and it's all windows inside there. And so he's facing south, and he's just sitting there.
Oh, I'm thinking of the other guy.
Oh, on the
guy
other side.
on the left, right?
I
We walk
see.
into the left side. I never see him, and
I
his
met
lights
somebody-
are always on. His car, he has vanity plates, and it's
does.
one of those cars that it's rich people have. Like, I don't know, it's not a Kia, I'll tell you that. But I can't pronounce the name of it. So,
Yep.
so I don't know what he does, but I never
I
see
met
him.
somebody this weekend that knows him.
Random.
That they said, "Oh my God, well, so and so's in that same building." I'm like, "Oh my God, that's that office downstairs." Yeah.
Yeah.
What does he do?
I
Yeah.
don't know. Obviously doesn't care about money because his lights are on all the time.
True enough.
Yeah.
So Andy, actually, the reason why you're here is because you had a big announcement,
I do.
Right?
I do. It's been a long time coming.
right? So I want you to
Years.
kind of set things up, because first off, Nick's first time meeting you,
Yes. Great to meet you.
And meeting a psychic ever, right?
Yes. Yeah.
all of that in one, right?
yes.
And so we said, well, come on in. You can come on in and sit down and get a chance to talk to Andy and get to know him a little bit better. So kind of give your little elevator pitch on who is Andy Myers, just to get Nick up to speed so we aren't talking over his head.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm born and raised in Omaha. I think as of October of this year, I've been actually giving psychic readings for 13 years.
Whoa.
At the past 10 or 11, it's been my full-time job. It kind of all honestly began with a near-death experience that I had in 2006, and obviously survived that. And when I came to, I realized my intuition was a bit elevated, and started to sense things about strangers, and ended up getting on the radio with these guys, and
You just started when
I had just started.
Yeah.
I had just began.
And it was like real early, because I remember we had you come on. It was kind of like one of those test runs when we talk to somebody. We'll have somebody come in once, and then afterwards it's like, okay, do we have him back? I'm like,
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, we like him.
It's like after that first date, it's like, I don't want to text him too soon because I don't want to be too aggressive, but I liked him. He was really good.
Yeah,
It's like a first date. Is it too soon?
It's too soon. Like 3 days later, hey, thanks for coming in, and then ghost him for a week, and then have him think, like, did they like me, and then reel him in.
It is. And then you became a regular on the show, which was awesome.
And you guys have no idea how much you changed my life. I was just talking with some buddies about this on a road trip we recently took, and I was like, because I was on the fence, I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be on live radio, giving psychic readings potentially. I'm like, I almost chickened out. But had I chickened out, like, my life wouldn't be like this. I wouldn't have my daughter. I wouldn't have met the people.
Wow.
I wouldn't know the friends that I know. And ultimately that exposure, led me to start giving more psychic readings and make the transition to being full time. And the big announcement I have is actually a book coming out, a book that's been, I say 150 years in the making, because it actually has to do with a past life that I lived and the evidence that we slowly uncovered in my family of how we're all connected in previous lives. And ultimately, giving psychic readings led me to meet Kenzie, who was a client of mine, and she came to see me for a psychic reading, and I predicted that someday she would have a very, very special, unique daughter. Little did I know at the time we were meant to have that child together, because as fate would have it, in a roundabout way, we ended up falling in love, getting married.
I forgot that's how you guys met.
Right?
That is crazy.
Yeah,
That is
super
wild.
cool.
And it's kind of cool though too that it's like the whatever powers that be didn't want to give you all the details.
No.
Right? It's like still let you have the fun of finding things out, but you knew what was coming for her.
Yeah, for her. And then, when we were married, we're like, well, I guess we're having this child together.
Yep.
And then we discovered our chances of conceiving a child were very, very low, less than 5%. And so the book is called the Sky Diaries, and it's out as of this week. You can get it on Amazon, but it's filled with signs from the afterlife, synchronicity, fate, destiny, messages from our guardian angels who also play into those past life discoveries. And ultimately, it's a story about connecting the dots, following that past life trail of breadcrumbs to figure out how we all fit together and how we've all known each other before. And really the book culminates with when my daughter was 3 and was old enough to speak. She started to have memories of who she used to be in a past lifetime. And when she started to recognize items around my house and could tell me where they came from and who they belonged to at 3.
That's nuts.
But didn't they say that's fairly common for little kids, but it gets poo-pooed by the adults?
Yeah.
Right? And children are more, they're inclined to do that. They're inclined, and they do, but the adults, oh, that's cute.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like an imaginary friend, or you're
exactly.
just
I was
making
just going to
stuff
say
up.
imaginary friend.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was just going to say that.
Exactly. And that's what shuts it down. Because it's the kid then believes they're being silly. Or nobody believes them, and so then that ability kind of just withers.
It's sad. Yeah, that's why it takes open-minded, people who could recognize this. I mean, this is a worldwide phenomenon of children having past life memories, and some people will say it's imagination, but this is kids of every background, all walks of life. Kids, I tell you what, you want to open up the floodgates, ask people on social media, ask parents to say, hey, have your children ever said anything strange before? Because 9 out of 10 comments will be, yes, my child talked about being big before. They remember having another family long ago. They want us to call them by a different name. They talk about living in India. They talk about living in Brazil. They talk about how they picked their parents before they were born.
Which is crazy, man.
They remember being big. And
I've seen those stories too, and it blows my mind because the one little boy in particular, he remembered fighting in a war. And he knew where the plane was, and he knew what kind of plane it was. Should not have known that information. Yeah, that kind of stuff, and it makes you wonder how many things are misinterpreted by parents. Then they hear their kids say things like that. Yeah. It's like you want to believe them, but that doesn't. But you have to understand that they aren't understanding the timeline. The children aren't, right?
Yeah.
So I have 1,000 questions for you. So but first starting broad, how does being a psychic work?
Yeah, it's, I don't know if anybody will fully be able to describe how it works. I think the misconception is, I love the psychic jokes, but the old cliche, you meet a psychic and you're like, what am I thinking right now? How much money's in my wallet right now? So it's not the ability to read minds, but it is the ability to intuitively sense and feel a few layers deeper into who a person is, in terms of their personality, their energy, maybe what's going on in their life personally, professionally, things like that.
Okay. And were you always, once you started having these feelings, were you ever skeptical of them at first, or Did you get right into it?
Well, the problem that I had is I was a social worker when this all started to happen, and so I was very familiar with various mental illnesses, diagnosis, hallucinations. Yeah, I knew about all that. So after I came to from my near-death experience and I started to auditorily, like sense things about people I'd crossed paths with, I had all this information popping in my head, and I thought, okay, I'm losing it. Like mentally, I'm cracking.
Right, you're checking boxes like, oh my God,
This is all me.
WebMD.
But thankfully, my close friends and family were extremely open-minded to this kind of thing, and with their encouragement, they were like, well, if you're sensing things about the stranger at the gym or the grocery store or the person you're pumping gas next to, ask them if the information makes sense. And thankfully, I was pleasantly surprised that when I did ask these strangers, the information usually checked out. And it was a relief for me, first of all. And then secondly, I was like, okay, how can I use that to benefit other people's lives? Because I didn't want it to just be a fun party trick. I was like, I can actually help people with this. Maybe give them some insight about current situations or heads up predictions about future events.
I want to ask you real quick too. How did Elizabeth, your sister, did that help her when she was seeing what was happening with you? Open her possibilities, open her mind as well.
I think it did. And again, she was, like me, fortunate enough to be in a family that was super supportive and open-minded. And yeah, she's been an intuitive healer now full-time for around a decade. Oh.
She did that to me.
Yeah.
Because and mine was headaches, and it was, if I closed my eyes, the color I saw was red when I'd close my eyes. And I'd never paid attention to that before, really. Because, like you close your eyes and you sometimes can see shadows, you can see different patterns. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird depending on how much light your eyes were exposed to, and that's you just think nothing of it. She did that and she doesn't touch you. She's just like drawing this bad energy away from you. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden the red lifted, and she was just sitting next to me, and I had my eyes shut, and she said, just quiet. And so I'm just sitting there quietly.
Hard
breathing.
For you to do sometimes.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Screaming inside.
Screaming inside. Ah! And I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden she said, okay, is that better? And I'm like, everything, it was white. The light was that I could see inside. There was no more red. And the headache was gone. And the bad feelings were gone. And she was just sitting there. I don't know what she was doing. She made me close my eyes. I don't know what she did. But it was amazing, though, that, she did that. But yeah, I was just wondering about that, because you both have that ability or some sense of it.
Anybody else in your family?
Yeah,
with that ability?
The Sky Diary, the opening scene of the Sky Diaries story has to do with my grandma Myers, and she was highly intuitive. She had visions, premonitions. She kind of shut that off because she was just not interested in discovering how or why she had that ability. So she kind of turned the volume down on that, so to speak. But yeah, in a roundabout way, she kind of, in my youth, she fostered my curiosity in terms of, mysterious things and the supernatural phenomenon and stuff like that. So yeah, she was intuitive. And then my maternal great-grandma on the other side of the family also read tarot cards back in the day before it was even popular.
Right.
So,
yeah,
we were just destined to go down this path.
Interesting.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Should mention, too, his daughter's name is Sky.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Sky Diaries.
Yep.
And there was a really cool video that I'll show you later that was on
it's
on he posted on Facebook a couple of years ago of like ghost evidence. You can see some entity moving sunglasses out of an Easter basket, wasn't it? And like Sky's walking and the glasses just go flying across the room. It's crazy.
This like 8 years ago?
Oh gosh, she was.
It was a while ago.
She was 2, so it was 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay, I was gonna say
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's real. It's crazy. I'll show it and I'll reshare it on our Facebook page too, because it's pretty crazy.
It's amazing.
She was just born into this world. Yeah, the glasses flew out of her hands on Easter morning as if someone pulled them out of her hands.
The video is amazing. It's just like stop.
But now she's old enough. She understands the concept of past lifetimes. She's on the book cover. It's her touching the sky. Which is appropriate. I named her Sky because I and my grandma, who I mentioned, we always had this love of sunsets, and we would share sunset photos together. And so Sky's name is actually Sky Aurelia, and Aurelia means golden. So basically, her name is Golden Sky.
That's super cool.
It's fitting because she was born at 8:08 during a golden sunset, which is also a part of the book.
Part of the story.
So when Nick asked how this whole thing works, I know we've talked about this before, but I always think it's interesting on how you can separate these things you get from the other side or these intuitions with your own thoughts. Like you know what I mean? I don't know. How do you do that? How do you're sitting there, you're thinking, this is me thinking crazy Andy, or this is the person on the other side talking to me?
Yeah, or do they both work do they work together?
Yeah, sometimes the distinction is, for example, like if my intuition is telling me the answer to a client's question, it's like personally I want to. So for example, if somebody asks me, and I get these questions all the time, is my marriage going to work? Personally, I want to say yes, but ethically I'm obligated to say no if my intuition is saying no. And I'd rather be direct and honest with people and run the risk of them being irritated with me as opposed to sugarcoating everything. So the best way I can describe it is the intuitive information hits me at a different frequency. It's almost like the subtle difference between someone giving you a high five and a handshake. Like it's essentially the same thing. It's hand touching hands, but it's a different feeling altogether.
That's a good analogy.
Okay.
Yeah. What about with everything that's gone on over the last year with the pandemic? How has that changed, like the energy of the world? We've talked about that with a lot of people. Like how has that changed? Or have you felt the difference?
Yeah, the main difference that I've seen, and this actually surprised me. So I've noticed, obviously, most people have a lot more anxiety than they've ever had before. But the thing which is not surprising, that's to be expected. But the thing I didn't expect is the amount of people who are going through like this spiritual renaissance, this intuitive growth spurt. Like people just suddenly, despite the craziness of the world, they're mentally feeling like, oh my gosh, it unlocked something within me. I feel like I'm on the cusp of doing something big and grand, and I'm really intuitive and I'm really optimistic. And then, but like the other part of you is like, why now?
Why now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The world starts to end, and you're like better than ever.
It's crazy. It really is. It's like hearing people and seeing people on social media and some of the things that they post, and that just realizing something or just figuring something out, or the disappointment that they just discovered X, Y, and Z is true. Or that, I can't believe this. I can't believe I fell for that and I didn't see the truth all along, but you do now. So it's like, it's not a bad thing, but it was so easy the way it was because everybody just collectively believed the same things.
Yeah,
right?
It was easy.
I saw on the news recently how many people quit their job in the pandemic just because they hated their job and always had an excuse to stay. And the pandemic showed them like, oh no, I can there's other jobs to be had, and it's similar energy to what Annie was just saying.
True.
Yeah.
That's got to be because right then it's like here's your opportunity.
Yeah.
You're getting kind of a taste, so is now a good time to take a turn, take a hard right. Let's try something different. And a lot of people are discovering that they can work from home. And I think that's another thing, too, is for a lot of businesses that they're realizing, coming back to work maybe for their business, maybe that really wasn't the best plan, having everybody in the same building. Maybe it's better that people are out doing their thing and they're more productive depending on the type of business as well.
Yeah, and people dealt with it in different ways. I saw a lot of people. I have a lot of clients who decided, the heck with corporate world, I'm going to finally start my cupcake business that I've been putting off for years, but it changed a lot of people. For me, just as of last weekend, we packed up and moved all the stuff out of my office. I no longer have an office. I'm totally remote from home nowadays, and I'm just, it's like breathing a sigh of relief.
That's
because
awesome.
Partly thanks to you guys, but like nowadays, like over half of the clients that I have live in other states. It doesn't make sense for me to have the overhead of an office when my clients are in Florida and California and Texas.
And you can do everything online.
Online, Zoom.
Exactly. And it's like if somebody wants to, like if you do one of your sessions, you can have the large group of people. And I'm sure it works just as well. I mean, yes, you want to be in the same room sometimes with people and people like that shared experience, but it's weird how people have adapted. I mean, up until last year when this all started, the camera on my laptop never got used. Ever.
Not that you know of.
It was taped over with black electric tape.
Not that you know of.
Right.
Somebody's always watching Mama.
I had it taped over. I was like, I'm not going to be that person, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, here we go.
Whatever. Now she's got Alexa. She's got Google. She's got all this stuff. Tapes off, Band-Aids off her camera.
Oh, my God.
Hey, Alexa, call Siri for me.
Right? Why don't you guys go have coffee?
But it's opened all of us up to, because that's how we communicate nowadays. Before, Yeah, I was the same way. It's like block that camera because I'm thinking that's how they get your information.
That's right.
As you're accepting terms on every app possible, but your camera's covered up. Yeah, right. I know. I get it.
Well, you saw the story. That was like what a lot of movies now. When you watch some of these movies now, have quickly aged poorly.
Oh yeah,
because how things have gone in the last couple of years. So when you go back and watch a show that has something about, like somebody tapping into your computers and this, and it's like, oh my God, everybody is sitting here with everything totally unlocked. And it's like a whole nother level. And I think that anxiety they can't play on it like they used to.
Well, the world has changed. I'm thinking, you guys remember that in the mid '90s there was that movie. It was called The Net.
That's one of my favorite movies.
Sandra Bullock,
one of my favorite movies.
And she orders a pizza from her computer, and I'm like, oh my God, we're living in the future.
That's dumb. That'll never happen.
That movie, I love everything about that. Do you remember? Okay, in that movie, real quick here, when she gets the virus that she's on, she gets a floppy disk. Like people are sending her viruses so she can decipher them, right? So she gets a floppy. Plops it in, and it plays dun 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 dun, and it's Mozart, right? And it was the name. I can't remember the name of the virus. That was the little thing that you had to click on the key, and then it opened up all of the utility districts. You could get into the utility districts and all the files, so you could see everybody's information. That was the whole thing of it, right? But that music was used in a movie that I was watching last week, out of nowhere, and I'm like, where do I know that music from? Wait. And then it finally came to me that it was from
The Net.
It was from that movie, and it was that piece of some Mozart. I can't remember it's Mozart, but regardless, I love that movie.
It is a good movie.
It really, and it honestly, it hasn't aged poorly. It
still holds up.
It still holds up, but the whole idea of her
waiting for floppy disk to load up so she can, and it's slowly ticking. It's like 4 megs, and it's taking 12 minutes.
And she's got the floppies, and that was it. She had the virus with her, and somebody was trying to get a hold of the virus because it fell in the wrong hands, blah, blah, blah. And she literally had a copy of it in her purse.
Yeah.
Instead of being able to digitally.
Put it on the cloud, yo. right.
What?
What's the cloud?
So, but otherwise, a lot of that movie still holds up. I love that movie. That's crazy. Yeah. That's funny that came out.
Yeah. And it's cool that now so like a year and a half ago, everybody, like you said, tried to do everything in person, even like with interviews on TV and reporters, like everything had to be perfect, lit, these expensive cameras. Now we realize we don't need that. We just want the information. So the same with you. It's like you don't have to have people in the office. You can do, especially connecting to someone's energy. That's global. Like you can do that wherever through anything.
Through phone. You don't even need to see a person's image. You can read their energy just through their voice and talking with them on the phone.
I bet.
So yeah,
wow.
That's awesome.
Another thing that surprises me nowadays compared to 10 years ago is how many people are super, super fascinated with the topic of past lifetimes. People are scheduling and they want to use their whole 45-minute session just to dive into past lifetimes, which is.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think curiosity. Maybe a lot of people, especially since the pandemic, they're more comfortable with who they are. They know who they are. They know they're confident about themselves moving forward, but they want to go into the past because sometimes knowing who you were gives you a better sense of who you are now. Almost like history class. I'll never forget this because in high school I love history now, but in high school I didn't. And I said, this is dumb. Why do we have to learn this history? And my teacher gave me an answer that I'll never forget. He said, learning about your past helps prevent you from making the same mistakes moving forward, and it gives you a better sense of who you are now and how you came to be. So, scale that up to past lives versus our current life,
Right.
So Andy, could I get a reading here, or how does it work? Can we give like a
Nick's energy's all over the place. If you can't tell,
Pat's not even psychic, and he knows that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to do a reading right now, but for anybody who does want an appointment, it's a matter of scheduling it and getting on the calendar, and
you should do that.
Yeah, where do people go? Yeah.
My website, andymyersonline.com, and it gives you kind of a rundown of what to expect and what kind of questions people ask, and but I never come in with a rigid approach. I always ask people, what do you want to focus on? Because sometimes it's all past lives, but sometimes it's career guidance. It could be predictions about love life and career and health and children and what they're going to grow up to be and do.
Okay.
It's crazy. I've done it once. It freaks me out.
It is pretty.
Because it's like they say, be careful what you ask. Because he will tell you. But I'm thinking about the whole reincarnation thing too. I think it's more accepted now
Yeah.
than it was, because it was like woo-woo crazy town before, and it's like, look at you sideways if you start talking that way.
Yeah.
But I think people want to know also, why do I have an inclination for? Why am I attracted to? You know, like traveling. Some people are like, oh my God, Italy was like it. I feel like I was home. And other people are like, ooh, I would not want to go there.
Yeah.
You know, same way with the states you live in. Why do I want to? Why am I in Nebraska? I mean, I came back. You know, it's like we moved away, but people come back. It's like, why are some people so attached to Maine?
Yeah. You know,
Right?
tattoos can tell a lot about past lifetimes.
Really?
Interesting.
There's so many examples. I remember just one that comes to mind is this gentleman, and I could tell he didn't really want to be there. Like his wife brought him in, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, give my husband a psychic reading," and he was skeptical. But he was like, 6'3", like Joe railroad worker, rough kind of guy.
Roughneck. Yeah.
And I'm telling him about a past life that he had fishing for marlins in the ocean. And he's Nebraska born and bred, and he just has his arms crossed, and he's just kind of looking at me, taking it all in. And after I tell him about this marlin-based past lifetime, he goes to roll up his pant leg to his jeans, and I'm like, all right, this guy's
He's gonna fight me.
Yeah, he's gonna fight me.
It's going down.
He's breaking out his Crocodile Dundee knife, and he's done with this session.
That's it. We're done.
But he rolls up his pant leg, and he has a giant ass tattoo of a marlin on his calf.
Wow.
And I'm like, this guy,
That's crazy.
He's born and raised in Nebraska. He's never lived anywhere else. Like, why is he so fascinated with marlins?
Yeah.
Now we know, because in a past life, they were very influential.
See, that's what I'm thinking.
interesting.
It's like you wonder, things that don't make sense. It's like, why do I like this and I don't like that?
I love whales.
Oh,
Whales are my favorite thing ever.
I like turtles.
No. Like on TikTok, my favorite kind of TikTok is whale TikTok.
That's awesome.
With giant orcas are my bucket
yeah.
list to see an orca.
whale TikTok.
Yeah.
That's a whole new
Yeah.
fetish. I want
I don't like attaching the word fetish to it, but
I am the name of the podcast just changed. It was going to be Psychic Andy's new book. Now it's I like whales.
He was Free Willy in a past life.
Free Willy.
you never know.
right?
Never
But you
know.
wonder why. Why are you so attracted to them, right? And I know people that are very much like, why else do we have Shark Week?
Yeah.
So many people are just fascinated by them. Maybe it is just the danger, but the whales.
And there's new souls too, right? That accounts for the population growth. Is that how it works?
I feel like all souls are roughly the same age, but I think by new soul and old soul, what we're actually referring to, an old soul would be somebody who's had a lot of previous incarnations, so somebody who's had a lot of past lifetimes, and through those experiences has gained a lot of wisdom and resiliency and creativity and all those good qualities. A new soul or a younger soul would just refer to a person who's had less experience through past lifetimes. So
Interesting.
So all the souls are there. They're all there. It's like when they're not making new
like
souls. It's just a
energy.
matter of young and old souls. Like
Yep, they're all there. And when we're not living a lifetime here on Earth, because keep in mind, our break, the in-between, which is the afterlife, that can be 50 years, that can be 100 years. And when we're in the in-between, we can actually play the role of guardian angel for somebody who's down here living a lifetime right now. And in fact, it's really cool when you consider the fact that, as in my book, we discovered we actually shared a past lifetime in the 1800s with the two individuals who are our guardian angels.
What?
And found documentation in Kenzie's family tree to verify that.
wow.
Oh my gosh.
Goosies. That's super awesome.
It's all, we all fit together in weird ways.
When you talk about that, all the souls are already here, so to speak. Even look at the world. I mean, how much it's changed and modernized, and the number of buildings that are here now. The same energy is still here.
Yeah.
But now it's in different places in different forms. So like everything is made of energy.
Yeah.
We know that. Science has proven that. So everything is made of energy, but it's a matter of the form that it takes, and it's recast almost.
I think it was Einstein who said energy can't be created or destroyed, it only changes forms.
Right.
And
It's all already here.
yeah. And I think with each new lifetime, you think of, if you compare Earth to a community theater or a community playhouse, like each new lifetime is just a new production, and each new body that we get with each new lifetime is just like a costume. And you know, throughout the lifetimes we can play different roles. And you know, when we're dead and gone, we take, you know, I'll take off this costume as Andy, and maybe I'll be someone's guardian angel for 100 years, and then I'll come back and throw on a new costume and play a different role.
That's pretty cool. Cool way to look at it. It's easy to understand that way.
It all kind of dovetails together with other things that we talked about on the show. I mean, people are a lot of people have heard the phrase, you know, life is just a play. It's all a play. It's just a production. And you hear that more now than ever because people are finding out things and the way things actually work and who actually is in charge of what. And it's like, it's all a stage play. This is all a stage. And it's like, and we're all just, you know, we're players in it, but we didn't know it. Yep. And on a grand scale to hear it broke down like that, it's like, that makes perfect sense.
Totally makes sense.
It absolutely does.
It makes me think of like the alien discussion that up until 2 years ago, aliens were a very fringe topic.
Yes.
And now with all the reports from like the CIA and the Air Force people, that now it's like very front. It's
That's
mainstream.
one of those things that once that information came out for a lot of people, it was either it was validation, confirmation. See, I wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
Or on the other side, it was, holy crap.
Yeah.
That's real. They've been lying to us for 60 years. And that's the lie has, I think, unnerved more people probably than we realize.
Yeah.
That was their first
Like you didn't trust me.
taste.
It's like you were trying to protect us from what? Like we're adults. Tell us. Don't
what
lie
else
to
are you
us.
lying about?
Right.
Right. And so I'm just like 5 steps ahead of that because I just figured that out not that long ago. And so that's where the whole Great Awakening, right? They call that, right? And it's like when I figured that out, and then when I figured out some other things, you're just like, oh my God. So that's not true. So that big one though, the confirmation with the as far as the aliens and flying saucers or whatever you want to call it, it's like, I told you.
The universe is stranger than we can possibly dream up, man.
Right? And they
really
start
is.
making connecting dots, as you said, that you help people do. Connecting dots across the world and noticing, oh, there's pyramids on every continent and they're all built about the same time with no tools. How'd they do that? Right?
And
you know?
And the biggest one's not even in Egypt. Like it's the highest one.
Exactly right. That's
But
the other
I think
thing.
the biggest one's like in Bosnia or something like that.
I think it is.
You know?
I think it is. I was trying to remember
Mind-blowing,
which one.
man.
It was somewhere in the Middle East, but it was, you've got Mexico and you've got, I mean, they're everywhere. And you're like, wait a minute. How
did
come
that
we
happen?
don't talk about this stuff?
Right.
How did that happen? And that makes you have to question some things then.
You know, but here's the thing. This is what always makes me chuckle. Even if aliens landed on the lawn right out here and we saw it, like what could we do? Like you still have to. Well, I'm gonna go home and fold my laundry, and I'm gonna come into work tomorrow. It's like,
and that's why I think it pissed people off so much that they lied to us because like what. Tell us what you see. What are we going to do? Like, we're going to go fight them? We're going to build a thing to go fight them?
We're going to panic and
like,
go.
what are we going to do?
Raid
the stores?
We're not Will Smith. We can't punch the alien in the face.
Right.
I would go home. I would get in my car and leave. Would you, a little UFO. If we saw a UFO, I'm grabbing my keys.
Would you submit an out-of-office request? Like, I need to take some personal
No
time.
request needed. No
just
request needed.
I'm
I'm just
out.
walking out.
I'm out.
Right? One of my favorite quotes about that, too, is whether there are aliens or not, either thought is terrifying.
Yeah, we're either alone or there's other people.
Right? And in the vastness of the universe, it's like we're either, this is it, which is terrifying, but the thought that there are other beings,
Scary.
equally.
Mathematically, it's been proven that there's literally more stars in the universe than all the grains of sand on all the beaches in the entire world. I mean, so the thought of us being all alone is like zip.
Is right.
Yeah.
And my daughter and I, we have great conversations as we're driving around town, running errands and taking her to school and stuff. And we always play the game of, do you think there's a planet out there somewhere in the universe where they have, purple grass? Probably. Sure. You think there's a planet out there that has 6 moons and the sky is always rainbow colored? Probably.
Probably.
If you can think of it, there's probably a world out there, a planet out there that's that weird.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Probably a planet of all Pats.
Oh, that's called heaven, Andy. That's not a planet. Oh.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
that's heaven.
All right, so your book.
Yes.
Where do we find that?
It is called The Sky Diaries, A True Story of Reincarnation. Best place to get it would just be on Amazon or through my website. My website is andymyersonline.com. It should, by this point in the week, it should be out in paperback, but I learned this, it's like slow, I guess it's like slowly uploading to all the platforms, including Amazon. So it's for sure out on e-readers, ebooks, any kind of ebook reader you have, it's out, and it should be out in paperback as well. And if you're listening and if you're interested in this kind of subject, a couple incentives for buying a copy. Anyone who buys a copy of the book and emails my office proof of your purchase, you'll be able to attend a free Heaven on Earth gallery reading. That's where we connect and I relay messages from deceased loved ones.
Yeah.
And then anyone who buys more than one copy will additionally be entered in a drawing for a small group medium session, which is like 5 or 6 of your family members and me. And it's very intimate, and we can connect and get some messages that way. So anybody who buys a copy, just email my office a screenshot of your purchase, and we'll give you all the pertinent info.
Do you still do, speaking of the smaller sessions, do you still do like in person for some of these things like that are local?
Yeah, I do. Yep. So I got rid of my small office, but I have another facility called Dreamweavers that I do. And I just did my first live event there. I did a Spooky Stories lecture a couple days before Halloween.
Yes.
Sweet. It was nice to have an actual audience again. I mean, Zoom's great, but it felt nice to be in person. So but for some of those small group family sessions, I'm still doing those in person and on Zoom for people in other states as well. So
very cool.
And all those links are in the description. So if you're listening on whatever, iTunes or Google, just scroll down and click.
Cool.
But it's always great to see you.
My gosh.
Gosh, you guys are the
Right?
best. This is fun.
We need to do this more often.
Yeah.
You only answered like 6 of your questions. So do you want
Well,
the other
this could be like a
900
2-hour-long pod.
Okay, so we'll do part 2 like next month.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
We'll be sure and get you in here.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Psychic Andy, thanks, buddy. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any questions for us? You can text us 402-403-9478. Slide into our DMs. It's Pat JT.
Pat and JT Podcast, a Hurrdat Media Production.